Okay, so we're just about done with the intro. By now you should have gone over all the church teaching videos and all of the Billings ovulation method intro videos. And now I just want to review what you need to do from here on out between now and your first chart review. Now, if you haven't already scheduled this, your first chart review needs to be about 2 weeks after this presentation is complete. So if you have already scheduled your first chart review and it's more than 2 weeks, then please keep in mind you will need to send your chart to your instructor so they can look over it. Okay, so the first thing that you need to keep in mind is chart daily, begin today, regardless of your situation. Okay, so let's just say that you're on the pill for whatever reason, or maybe you're already pregnant, or maybe you have some sort of weird situation going on. Yes, charting will not really do a lot of good for you because you're probably not going to have fertility, but you'd be surprised. Last year, Marianne and I had 3 women that were on the pill and still ovulated, meaning their pill was doing absolutely nothing to prevent ovulation. So it's very important that you chart your wherever you are, even if you're on the pill, and get used to feeling what those sensations are so that when you're ready to use NFP that you can use it successfully. Okay, so you might not notice a normal chart, but that's okay. Just chart where you're at. The second thing you need to do is abstain from genital contact for 14 days at least. So for the married couple that's taking this course, you need to abstain for 14 days. Really, you need to abstain until your first chart view. Hopefully that's only 14 days from now, okay? However, if you do start fertility on day 14, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to abstain just a little bit longer. So it might not be only 14 days, but probably just around 14 days. Now for the engaged couple, you need to abstain until your wedding day. Again, this is something that the Bible does talk about. I recommend waiting until your wedding day, but don't worry about what you've done in the past. Draw a line in the sand and just decide that from today on, you're not going to do that, okay? So be chaste to your wedding night. It will make the wedding night that much more special to come back together again as a married couple. Okay, now, as I mentioned before, you're only going to use 3 stickers in your first charting, but despite the fact of how clear I am when I talk about this, someone always forgets, okay? Red for bleeding, green for dry, nothing felt, nothing seen. If you have dry with discharge, you're going to use a white baby, which is the 3rd sticker, okay? Or if you have any other sensation or any other observation of discharge. So you're going to have a lot of white babies in the first 14 days, if not longer. Don't think that means fertility. It just means possibly fertile. Chart online. So the nice thing about today's day and age is there's an app for almost everything. We have Android and iPhone apps for the nfpcharting.com website. So you can create a profile there. All you need to do is create a username and password. You don't have to put any payment information in there. You get 1 month free. Now, I'm not affiliated with this website, okay? But it's a great resource to use because if you're charting here, you can share your chart with your instructor, and I can see your chart as you're charting day by day. So let's say you're really confused. This is a great tool because I can help you out starting on day 1 when I see that confusion. If we meet 2, 3, 4 weeks from now for the first time, you might not even remember what happened 3 weeks ago. So it'd be really hard for us to kind of go through that chart review. So that's something to keep in mind. Get the proper help. So if you have questions about Catholic teaching, call your teacher or me or someone else at the diocese that knows what they're talking about, okay? So again, my phone number is 972-746-5085. Please don't call unless you have to. I am available, so I'm here to talk to you about Catholic teaching. I'm better through email, though. That's why I mentioned that. My email address is aabadie@fwdioc.org. Okay, so if you need to find out more information about Catholic teaching, please contact me. I can also send you to websites that are good Catholic approved websites that have, issues of ethics and all that they talk about. Okay, book time with your instructor. So follow up, schedule your sessions 2, 3, and 4. That's how you will do that. Every teacher schedules differently, so you're either going to have to email them directly, call them, or with me, I have an online calendar. Now, NFP-only doctors, you might be thinking, you know what, Tony, I'm on the pill because of acne, or I'm on the pill because of endometriosis, or something else like that. So that's okay, right? Well, in the past, it was okay if you were using it as medication. You're not sinning in any way unless you're using it for contraceptive purposes. Now, however, as I mentioned, once you become married, that thing that was medication, quote unquote, is now going to be used as contraception as well. So now it is no longer okay. So NFP is not reconcilable, contraception is not reconcilable in marriage. Okay, so what do I do from here? Don't trust us, go to an NFP doctor. Now, if you go to any doctor on the street, any OB, they're going to tell you just to use the pill because that's easy. But we have NFP only doctors in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We've got about 4 of them. I can send you to them. If they tell you to stay on the pill, then stay on the pill. But I guarantee you they're going to have a different medical solution for you other than the pill. So whatever your problem is, they can help you. Okay. Usually when you have issues like acne and all that, it's an endocrine system that needs to be resolved. Keep in mind, staying on the pill is not only dangerous, we talked about that for the cervix, it ages your cervix. It can open you up to things like blood clots, breast cancer, cervical cancer, all types of other things. But not only that, it's like a steroid. Okay, so taking a steroid is not good to do on an indefinite level. If I wanted to gain muscle mass and I go into my doctor and say, hey, put me on steroids, he's going to slap me. Okay, but yet we do this for people that want to postpone pregnancy. It's not a good thing to do long term. Okay, so talk to one of the NFP only doctors in the area, and I'm sure they will give you a different solution. If you have more questions about that, please contact me. I do want to talk to you about this. So tips on charting. I've gone over a lot of this stuff already in the presentations, but what I want to cover first of all is focus on patterns. Patterns, patterns, patterns. Everything happens in patterns. So if you have the same thing going on day to day, regardless of how fertile it looks, it must be infertile if it does not change. So unchanging patterns are infertile. So the presence of mucus alone does not equal fertility. Okay, changing patterns are possibly fertile. Doesn't mean you will have ovulation, it just means it looks like you're fertile on these days. Now, if you have confusion, let's say you just don't get the whole sensation thing, it didn't make sense to you, or maybe you've been charting for a couple days, you're watching this video a second time just to kind of get some tips. Think about, what would you chart if you were blind? If you took all the visual observations out of your charting, what would you say you are today? Okay, that really helps clarify sensations. So again, focus on sensations. A blind person can use the Billings method, but a blind person cannot use other methods of NFP. Okay, and then the second question is today the same as yesterday, or is it different? So look for times of change or difference. Today I feel moist. Okay, what did I feel yesterday? Dry. So today is a day of change, right? But if yesterday was moist, even if I was a slightly bit more moist today, it's basically the same thing. Okay, so focus on the patterns. Second thing, be consistent. So make sure you're charting the same things. Again, I mentioned this before in the initial session. Don't chart fluidity one day, color the next day, and amount the next day. If you're going to chart all of those, chart them all. But I would keep your description down to about 3 words. 1 sensation and maybe 2 words for your observation. Okay, I recommend charting the fluidity or the viscosity of the mucus versus color or amount. Okay, but if you notice big changes, maybe you have the same type of discharge, but you have a whole lot more today than you did yesterday, well, that's a day of change. So make sure you record that on your chart. Okay, and again, use the same words. Don't say, stringy one day and stringy the next day, but they mean 2 different things. Or don't say damp one day and moist the next day when they really mean the same thing. So make sure you use the same words to describe the same things. Okay, third thing, focus on intensity. I mentioned the sponge earlier. That is a very good thing to keep in mind. So that's the bottom point there. Are you dry? Are you more intense than that? Do you have that kind of sweaty, damp sensation? Okay, are you so wet that you're saturated, like that you just need a change, you feel kind of gross? That would be a wet sensation. And then do you have that slippery sensation that feels really oily? Okay, so keep in mind these things and maybe write out a scale on your chart to kind of keep you honest with yourself. Okay, today, did I feel saturated? Yes or no? No, I didn't. Okay, did I feel moisture? Yeah, I did. So I need to put moist today, not wet. Make sense? Okay. And again, focus on the pattern. Is it developing? Is your sensation getting more and more intense every day? Or is it about the same every day? Is your observation getting more intense, less intense, or is it staying the same every day? Think about that stuff. Okay, and then the sensations. We already went over this before. I'm just going to briefly cover it. Dryness is a feeling of nothingness. Sticky is your labia being stuck together. Okay. Moist or damp, don't use both. One or the other, please. That's the presence of moisture, but not a feeling of saturation. Wet would be that feeling of saturation, like, oh my gosh, I peed my panties, that type of thing. Now, if you're somewhere in between, like I mentioned, Marianne has a moist BIP. We don't feel wet on our first day of change. Okay, so she feels somewhere in between. So we indicate that with an adjective. We say more moist. Now you should never have more than one level in between. So I don't want to see more than 4 sensations on here. We use dry, we use moist, we use wet, we use slippery. So we only use 4 sensations in our chart, but occasionally we'll have that in between. So we call it more moist. Okay. Wet is saturated. Slippery again is that intense saturated feeling, and some women only feel it when wiping. Okay, do not chart wiping sensations, but that's only used as confirmation. Okay, and then the last slide is over things that could get in the way of good charting. So the first thing is charting the incorrect things for sensations. There are 3 things that we see in common. Sometimes people will only chart wiping. If you're only charting what you see in bathroom visits, you're not doing this correctly. Your sensation, again, is how you feel walking around conducting normal activities. So wiping is not a good thing to be charting. The only time I'll accept that is if you're wet and you're not sure if you're slippery. So if you already feel saturated and you're not sure if you're slippery, then that slippery sensation does not come off while wiping. Drainage. So the feeling of discharge coming down the vagina and draining out of the vagina, that's not what we're charting either. So one time I was teaching someone and they put something weird on the chart, and it indicated something falling down, and I was like, what is that? And she described it, and then I realized, okay, that's not what we're charting. So that really cleared up her chart after that. And the appearance. Now, we want you to put the appearance of discharge, but sometimes people will chart appearance as a sensation. So one time I saw a chart that said dry wet. So I asked her what that was, and she said, I felt nothing, but I saw a wet mucus. Okay, well, that doesn't make sense because wet is a sensation. So don't chart the appearance of the discharge as a sensation. Another example is sticky. The mucus looked sticky. Okay, well, sticky is a sensation, so we don't use the word sticky to describe how it looks. You might want to put glob or tacky or something like that. Okay. All right, overanalyzing. Don't overanalyze. Half of the people in the world are detail people, half are big picture people. I am a detail person. I am more susceptible to overanalyzing. So don't do that. Look for patterns day by day. Is today different than yesterday, or is it basically the same thing? And chart with that in mind. Now, sexual activity, we need you to abstain for the first 14 and maybe a little bit longer than that, okay? If you interrupt that with intercourse or genital contact, your chart will be useless and we'll have to start over again, okay? After we give you the green light for intercourse, then you can start having intercourse, okay? Feminine hygiene products. Now, we're not telling you not to use tampons and stuff like that. Use whatever you need to use, but please indicate sensations on those days. Things that can get in the way of good charting is wearing pads every day. The pads have a layer of plastic in them and it traps in moisture, so you'll feel more moist than you really are, okay? Dryer sheets or fabric softeners can do the same thing, but we generally don't see that to be a problem, but don't wear pads every day. The last thing is on the type of underwear you use. If you're used to wearing thongs, you're going to need to stop doing that for the first maybe 2 weeks to 2 months, okay? Because basically when that underwear is pressed so close to your vulva, you can't feel any sensation at all. Generally, women will chart dryness all the time, even on days where they have moisture, okay? And usually their underwear is wet. So please don't use any thongs. Wear full back cotton panties for the first 2 weeks at least, if not for the first couple months where you're getting used to this. Once you're used to your sensations, you can wear whatever you want to. With that, we are done. We will see you at the next session. Thank you very much.